Welcome to MMA Oddsmaker. I'm Nick Kalikas. Joining me today, I have Keefer and Damon Martin. Let's get started. Fight number 23 from UFC 162, another awesome featherweight battle, this time between Frankie Edgar and Charles Oliveira. Guys, another competitive battle, but you do have to give the slight edge to Frankie Edgar. I'm opening up a little bit higher compared to the other lines we released today. This time it's going to be Frankie Edgar minus 280. The comeback is going to be plus 200 on Oliveira. I'm going to start off with Case this time. With your 5 dimes donated bankroll, give me your take and give me your bet.
Well, bear with me because I know some people are going to think this is a reach, but if this is my own money and I'm betting it for myself, I probably don't take Charles Oliveira at 2-1. I have a sneaking suspicion that before the fight, a lot of action will come in on Frankie Edgar, and maybe the line will get driven up. So I'd like to have a little bit higher of a price, maybe around even plus 250, somewhere where he only has to win less than 30% of the time to make it profitable. But that being said, I'm not really interested in laying close to 3-1 with Frankie Edgar either. I would probably rather just take a shot on the dog. I think this is kind of a good situation for Charles Oliveira. This is a fight he's probably thought about for years. He's wanted to face Frankie Edgar back to when they were in the lightweight division. You got to kind of wonder about Frankie Edgar's mental state. I mean, he's fought all championship fights. Now it's kind of a drop down to fight a guy of kind of lesser caliber, or at least perceived lesser caliber. And another thing with Frankie Edgar is all these fights we've seen him in, what's the common thread? He struggles early and then comes on late and wins. He's not going to have the luxury of the 4th and 5th round against Charles Oliveira. It's going to be his first 3-round fight, and you can hardly even remember. I look at Charles Oliveira as a guy that we've always said, man, if he just puts it all together, he could really be special. And it's a gamble to say he's going to put it all together here, but if I'm getting that big of a plus price, I might have to take Charles Oliveira and just see if I can hit a long shot.
All right, awesome stuff from Case here. He's going to back the underdog, Oliveira, plus 200. It's going to be 500 to win $1,000. Let's start over with Damon. Is it going to be Edgar or Oliveira for you?
I think it's going to be Frankie Edgar all day in this fight. Case makes some good points that we've gotten so used to seeing Frankie in 5-round wars to where he's really had to take over in the 4th and 5th round that we kind of forget that he did have a long career before he was champion. It's been literally more than 3 years since he's had a fight that wasn't a title fight. But when you look back at his history against guys with really strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu backgrounds, you look at his fight with Hermes Franca, you look at his fight against Mark Bocek, he finished Bocek, he dominated Franca. This is a guy who has great wrestling. His boxing may be some of the best in the entire in the entire sport of mixed martial arts, honestly, working with Coach Mark Henry. And I just think that, Edgar has been in so many title fights. The only worry I have is that he's somehow going to be in a little bit of a letdown because he's not in another title fight and he's not in a #1 contenders bout. But, Charles Oliveira, his performances have been, scattered and sporadic. He's looked great in some fights. He's gotten dominated in others. So I don't know which guy's going to show up, but every time Frankie Edgar shows up, you never see this guy get blown out of the water. He's only been dominated once in his entire career, and that was the first fight against Gray Maynard, and he's faced unbelievably higher levels of talent than Oliveira has throughout his career. I just think this looks like a little bit of a mismatch on paper, and I think Frankie Edgar will treat it as such, and I think he's going to dominate and maybe even finish Charles Oliveira within the 3 rounds.
Okay, so Damon going to go with Frankie Edgar here, minus 280. It's going to be $1,400 to win $500. Good comments, good stuff from both guys on this fight. They do split on this battle here. And it's another intriguing matchup for me as well. I think that Oliveira is probably one of the most talented guys I've seen offensively in a long time. Now, defensively, he does have some holes in his game. He also lacks that toughness that you kind of don't want to see in a guy, in a prospect at least, as evident in his losses. But Frankie Edgar on the other side, he has that heart, he has that toughness, and he has a skill set to back it all up. So another, like I said, intriguing matchup. My personal feel is I would probably rather take a small stab at the dog at this point as well. We'll see what the general betting public does. If the line climbs up on Frankie Edgar even higher, I am probably going to take a small stab at Oliveira. He does have a point to prove. I think he shows up and makes this fight at least interesting. As far as adjustment goes, I'm not going to touch it. I am going to open up Frankie Edgar minus 280. The comeback on Oliveira is going to be plus 200 when it does hit 5 dimes. Make sure you guys stay tuned to MMA Oddsmaker in the near future as we break more great fights.